What's up, guys? MtgJedi here. How you doing today? I am joined by the one and only J Gigs. How you doing today, buddy?
Pretty good, man. I'm pretty good. Still waking up, but can't complain, I reckon.
Yeah, right on, right on. Well, I messaged J Gigs because I have a sneaking suspicion. I've gotten a few little, hints and suggestions and ideas that some features from other games might be the next thing that's coming into Raid. And so, as a mobile game expert who I know has been playing some or both of these games, I wanted to have you on the channel here because I have never played either of them. And so, what we're talking about today is the Void Rift and what is it called in Summoner's War?
A dimensional hole.
The dimensional hole. Okay. And so these two things I believe are very similar. But I think that Watcher of Realms just added this feature to their game. And being that neither of us have really played that version, we're not going to touch too much on that. We're going to focus on Summoner's War, which you've been playing for a while, I think.
Yeah, I've been playing Summoner's War off and on since 2015, 2014, 2015, so it's been a
Okay.
while now.
Okay. My funny story, my friends actually, my gaming group, they were really into Summoner's War right when I started playing Raid. And I was like, nah, I'm really into this other game called Raid. You should play that. And they're like, no. And then they were like, you should play Summoner's War. And I was like, no. So we just kind of went our separate ways and did our own gaming mobily. But Summoner's War has been around before, before all of this Raid stuff started. And I'm very curious about this idea of the dimensional holes. So, can you just like tell us about what those are like in Summoner's War?
They've expanded on it over the years, but the core of it, the whole point of it originally was to farm materials to second awaken your units. So the same format. You 6-star your monsters, and then instead of having to ascend 1 star at a time like we do in Raid, you just awaken them with materials. And then they came out with this second awakening that changes their appearance, changes their skills, makes them significantly stronger, and they take this on the 2 and 3 star units in the game to continue to keep them relevant. They like to keep farmable. They'd like to keep it kind of balanced as they're able to free to play. So that's kind of the core of it. And then over time, they started to add the ability to farm ancient runes. So the best way I guess the equivalent of that would be like mythical gear in Raid. It's
Oh,
probably a pretty
okay.
similar system, as well as some other materials to craft certain runes. And like I said, they've expanded on it a lot. They've added a few different features like the I think it's called the Dimensional Predator. Pops up once a month, and it's an incredibly difficult boss with really good rewards if you can clear it. So that's just a lot of content.
Okay, cool. So basically, these if you can see here, like Karzan, Alunia, Lumel. I don't know if I'm saying those right at all. Those are they like sort of like dungeons?
Yeah, they're kind of their own portal to that region. So you go
Okay.
into Karzan, and there's dungeons you can farm for the runes and the materials, and then there's also the Second Awakening dungeons. So let's say you wanted to do the War Bear, for example. There's a War Bear Second Awakening dungeon, and take the unit that you want to Second Awaken in there with another team and farm it until you get enough of the pieces to Second Awaken him. And then each
So
region has a couple of different monsters in it.
would it be almost like combining Minotaur and Blessings together in one location? Is that a good way to describe it? Like you're farming the resources to awaken and get a blessing for your champion if we were transferring it into raid terms.
Yeah, something along those lines, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it, it's
Um
it's it's sort of akin to what we have now with the awakening system, but Raid did a very simplified version of that. It doesn't
yeah.
change anything about the core unit. It doesn't change anything about the appearance. It just lets you put a blessing on them, and you get a
Yeah.
couple of stat bonuses. It's significantly different in Summoner's War, so I don't know where they would go with that
Okay.
in Raid.
So if this ends up coming to raid, then they would have to have an entirely different reward structure and reason for us to do this.
Yes.
I'm
they
hoping.
tend to struggle with.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong. Yeah, they do tend to struggle with that. I'm thinking that maybe this is going to be our way of getting the new primal shards. Like since they have the primal quartz, maybe that would be a reward or a farmable resource there. I mean, that seems maybe too generous of them, but what
Yeah.
so each of these different locations has their own like levels and boss and stuff.
hmm and it's sort of similar to the dungeons where certain regions only have certain types of ancient runes, as well as their individual units that you want to work to second awaken.
So in terms of raid, then they might have one for each of the different affinities. Is that comparable?
Maybe.
Okay.
It's hard.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to say which direction they'd go because I don't know what else. I don't know what room they've left for champions to
Yeah.
be further improved in that manner. So
I mean, there's
I
already
would think they'd.
such a diverse range of power between people
Yeah.
who have like empowered champions or high level blessings. Like I don't know if you really want to stack another thing, then
Yeah,
that's just going to
change the
widen
colors
the
of the
gap.
stars again. Like,
Right.
how many times are we going to do that?
Right, right, and it's probably been too soon since Awakening to do that. So if
Yeah.
this is the direction they're going to go, then they would need some kind of new reward structure. Probably like 500 silver and 100 energy or something.
Right. 10
but
green
but
shards.
theoretically, this could be an area where you could farm books if they were being
Yeah.
smart and generous and wanted the game to last a long time.
Yeah.
Um,
It's also worth mentioning that there is no way to really empower rares and epics.
True.
So maybe they're gonna do a second awakening thing for rare and epics, and it's gonna be a way to keep some of the rares a little bit more relevant
Maybe.
longer. Maybe.
I like that idea. I think that's great. I just wonder because Plarium said we were never going to be able to empower epics. And like empowering and second awakening is different, but I feel like they want everybody hunting those legendaries though.
Yeah, I don't think they want rares and epics to be relevant. So
No.
I think that's a bit of a. I love the idea. I would love
Yeah.
it if
Yeah.
they would do something like that. But I think it's probably going to be a mythical gear soul farm type thing that's going to be. I mean, I hate to be pessimistic. I really do. But at this
Yeah.
point, I've learned my lesson on being optimistic with
I
what they're
know.
doing. So what
Well,
are you
I
going to do?
mean, so if they think that this next feature coming to the game is going to be a huge amount of content, it would be reasonable to say that this void rift or dimensional holes could be the thing that they are looking into.
Yeah.
So I guess the next thing I want to say is, have you looked into? Let me switch the picture on screen here. Have you looked into at all the void rifts from Watcher of Realms yet?
I haven't yet. I'm actually about 3 days in, and today was the first time I ever even heard of Void Rift. So
Oh,
I'm excited to unlock that.
okay, yeah, cool. So, like, I don't know. I should probably go look into that a little bit more, but I stole this picture from Ivy Lee's video, so shout out to her. Thank you for covering this. I don't know. I couldn't even find, like, an official image from the company, so they're, like, right on track with Raid in terms of, sharing their cool game modes.
Right.
But they broke it down into like 3 difficulties, and I could see Polarium doing something more like this, where you have those options instead of being more creative, like in Summoner's War, where you have like a whole new realm to explore
hmm
with your time and your energy. Um, but I know that the basics of the Void Rift in Watcher of Realms is that you choose one of these difficulties each week, and so you'd be able to just choose whatever one makes sense for your account. And I
Hmm.
think that type of thing makes a lot of sense for Raid because that's sort of their normal structure anyway.
Yeah.
Now, I'm hoping I'm wrong because the Summoner's War one this seems way cooler. So let me flip back over to that one, and then maybe you can tell us like some of the cool aspects of just a couple like little things about each of those areas. Is there anything that sticks out to you about like Tarzan? Like, what's the difference between these locations?
There's an aesthetic difference, but the only real difference is which units are available, which Second Awakened dungeons are in them, and then which runes and rune materials you can farm. Beyond that, it's just an aesthetic difference. But it basically, I mean, Dimensional Hole, I feel like it doubled the size of Summoner's War when they released it.
Really?
Uh, it's so much content, and they continue to add to it, and they continue to add other things. It's a ton of content. So it makes sense Raid would be doing something like this because they said it's bigger than Doom Tower,
Yeah.
and Doom Tower's 240 stages of content
Yeah.
ultimately. So it's going to
So
have to be something pretty big.
yeah, I totally agree. If they think it's bigger than Doom Tower, which, you know, obviously has been one of their best releases. Like,
Yeah.
when you go into each of these locations, in terms of raid, would that be like a specific faction? Is it closer to saying that?
Um, I think it's more like the equivalent of just opening up the dungeons menu, and then you kind of pick which direction you want to go in. So
Okay.
like if you clicked on
Okay.
Karzan, you'd have the units over on the side, and I think in that one it's like Inugami, Warbear, and Pixie maybe. I can't remember exactly. But then there's also the Karzan Ruins, I think it's called, and that's just like a rune, which is the equivalent of an artifact dungeon. So like Dragon, Ice Golem, Fire Knight. But you
Okay.
have the potential to get ancient runes, which is
Right.
the equivalent of
Right.
mythical runes. But they've already kind of done that too with the hard
Yeah.
dungeons, right? Can't you get
Right.
mythical gear from
You
those?
can get mythical gear from
Yeah,
those.
so I just don't know. They haven't left themselves a lot of room to expand in that way. I think unless they come up with some wildly new concept, I think they're just going to have to piggyback on top of other things they've already done, which makes me think it's just going to be another mythical gear soul farm type of thing where they're
Yeah.
hopefully it's interesting enough that they don't have to bully us into it like they do with Hydra. So,
Actually, I've been loving Hydra, but I know not a lot of people do. Not everyone
yeah, I
does.
have my phases where I
Yeah.
enjoy it, but I understand not enjoying it for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, since they banned, well, they didn't ban anything, but it feels like they banned Cadaver, right? You know, they made him unusable, which I'm totally
Right.
fine with. I built that team. It's miserable to run. I hated it. But since that guy's gone, it just opened up a whole new, hey, let's be creative again. And I love that
Sure.
part. Yeah.
Yeah, that is fun.
What I'm hoping these void rifts or, you know, dimensional holes, whatever they end up calling it, they'll probably like combine it together and like call it a void hole or something. Um, that'll be, you have to make a
I'll have some
comedy
fun with
video.
that.
Yeah, you would
Yeah.
make a good video on that one. Um, so whatever they end up doing, I would love to see them dive deeper into like faction specific or the alliances because
Yes.
we
Agreed.
have really yet to experience anything interesting other than hey, go do Fire Night with different champions.
Dude, yeah. There's
Which
so much potential in that system and they've
yeah,
utilized it 2% maybe.
yeah, like so little, so little.
So little.
And like with the Guild Wars stuff, there's so much potential there. Also, you know, to have these passives that actually interact with opposite types of factions and stuff, that's so
Yeah.
interesting to me. But I'm
Yeah.
hoping that they bring that to this new game mode because that could be really cool. But I appreciate your perspective of keeping us with realistic expectations. Because
Yeah. I
Plarium's
would
like,
love it to be amazing, but
yeah, I mean, I think all of us would. If this new game mode is as amazing as what Summoners War brought, even if it's going to be different and, you know, Raid's own thing, I think it could legitimately bring people back to the game. Do you feel like that's
definitely.
reasonable?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Well, do you have any other thoughts on this game mode or Raid in general before we wrap up the video here?
I don't think so, man. I always am cautiously optimistic,
Yeah.
despite feeling like I know better at this point. But it's always possible they could surprise me. I just hope that they drop something that's not paywalled.
Yeah.
I really just want it to not be paywalled. I don't want everybody to be locked out of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, unless they're end game or spending money. I hope they really put it in some effort and drop something interesting and beneficial to the
Well,
players rather than.
before we wrap up the video, let's dive into that for a second. So, how is the paywall on this feature in Summoner's War?
Non-existent. It's you can't even purchase the energy. The dimensional hole energy refills much slower, and you can't purchase it. I think the first time you run out, they let you buy it with gems, one
Okay.
refill, and then after that, they don't sell it. So you can't get out ahead of everybody that way. All of the dungeons are most of the game PVE side is playable with farmable units.
Okay.
You're really not the only thing you're really locked out of in Summoner's War is top tier arena, and even then, some of the farmable units are in the meta. So it's like uh, very very little of Summoner's War is paywalled, like a hard
Oh,
paywall,
okay. Okay.
which is one of the reasons I love it so much. I think it's
Yeah.
I just think that's great that they've found it took them a while, but they managed to strike that balance where it's fun and interesting and everybody can do it, and it's challenging, but you can do it with farmable champs across
Yeah.
the board.
And I know
So
people still spend a ridiculous amount of money on that game too. It's not like they don't
yeah,
make money.
yeah,
It's
they make a
just
lot of
the
money.
free-to-play people who are going to play your game, like they can be involved and have fun and, compete with everybody, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
Watcher of Realms, I'm doing a free to play series, and I was saying in today's video, I kind of regret going free to play because I like what they're doing so much. I would like to spend money in the game.
Yeah,
Beyond even wanting the stuff, I'd like to give money to developers that I think are doing good things.
right.
And I think a lot of people are like that, and Plarium just doesn't get it.
Well, I heard maybe at some point we'll reconnect about Watcher of Realms, but I heard that they have like a monthly pass or something that, is a recurring cost, but the value is just enormous on it. Almost like a battle pass, but just like,
Hmm.
energy and resources and stuff. But
Yeah, I
that's a
think it's the
topic for
Dragon
another
Pass.
video.
Yeah,
So are
yeah.
you covering Watcher of Realms on your channel then?
I'm doing it. I've got that second channel where I was doing a lot of Summoner's War. It's where I
Okay.
do the other mobile games that I play. And yeah, I'm doing
Okay.
Watcher of Realms right
So
now.
you cover Summer's War and Watcher of Realms all on the same channel?
Yeah, I haven't done Summoners War videos in a minute, but
Okay.
I kind of bounce around on that channel, and right now we're on Watcher of Realms.
Okay,
So
okay. Well, I know that you're still doing your raid, free to succeed, Raid Shadow Legends, um,
right online.
which I love, and I watch frequently at like 3 o'clock in the morning when my little baby is up and hanging out with me.
Yeah,
So
awesome though.
I'll get the links for both of those, and we'll put those in the comments. So anybody who
Appreciate
wants
it.
to check out your stuff on any of the games, I feel like your perspective is always fresh and interesting and different, very much so than the norm for a lot of the other content creators like myself. So if you want something
I appreciate
fresh
that.
and interesting, yeah, for sure, make sure you check out Jay Gigs because he's always bringing it with the comedy and interesting things. So, anything else cool you got going on right now?
Short of the comedy channel, I got a lot of channels
That's good
that
though.
I am spending a lot of time on as well. That's about it. Just lots of content. Just always making content these days. So
Sweet, sweet. Well, hey man, I really appreciate you taking a little bit of time to come talk to me about this game that I have literally no idea about. And I'm excited to see what they actually do and, where is this going to show up in the game? How is it going to show
yeah.
up in Raid? Am I making crap up for a clickbait video here? I don't know, but I think that it's realistic that this could be coming to the game. So thank you for
Not
taking a minute to
unreasonable at
hang out.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Right on. Well, I appreciate you, man. And go check out Jay Gigs to the other whichever pointing. And
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
my pleasure, my dude. All right, guys. Peace out. Have a nice day.